Rommel is one of the most skilled and respected military commanders of World War II, and his tactical genius is still studied and admired today. In World War I, he served as a young officer in the German army. Rommel fought on the Western and Eastern fronts during the First World War. During the early years of the war, Rommel quickly proved himself to be an exceptional officer. He was known for his bravery and daring, and he was promoted several times for his outstanding leadership and military prowess. In 1918, he was awarded the Pour le Mérite, the highest military honor in Germany at the time, for his actions during the Battle of Caporetto. Rommel's experiences during World War I would shape his military career and his philosophy of warfare. He was a strong believer in the importance of speed, mobility, and the initiative on the battlefield, and he developed many of the tactics that would later make him famous in France and North Africa. Overall, Rommel's service during World War I was the foundation for his later success as a military commander. His experiences on the battlefield taught him valuable lessons about leadership, strategy, and tactics, and his bravery and skill earned him the respect and admiration of his fellow soldiers and superiors alike. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe. To begin, Rommel was born in 1891 in Heidenheim, Germany, to a working-class family. Rommel's father worked as a school teacher who previously served in the Prussian artillery. Rommel excelled in math and science and had an interest in aerodynamics. After finishing school, Rommel planned on working in the Zeppelin factory. His father was against this and instead pushed him into a military career. On his 18th birthday, Rommel joined the Württemberg Infantry in 1910. The Desert Fox was sent to Danzig to study at an officer training school where he graduated in 1912 and was placed in the 124th Infantry. In 1914, Rommel was transferred to the 49th Field Artillery Regiment to study field guns, and he rejoined the 124th once World War I broke out. The 124th Infantry were mobilized and sent to Belgium to follow through with the Schlieffen Plan, the planned German invasion of France, which entailed swinging into northern France like a wheel by moving through the neutral territory of Belgium and attacking the French army on an unsuspected flank. Rommel's infantry was tasked with pinning the French troops along the Ardennes forest, while the Sixth Army under Prince Rupert of Bavaria drew the French army deep into German territory so they could be encircled in a cul-de-sac. The French, upon the outbreak of war, planned on liberating German-occupied Alsace-Lorraine and then marching deep into the German heartland. Prince Rupert faced down two French armies that were following War Plan 17, and despite being outnumbered, were able to hold the French off with machine gun and artillery, but suffered heavy casualties. The Schlieffen Plan then fell apart with the whole German army going on the offensive, thinking that victory was assured. Instead of luring the French army into an encirclement, they attacked on a broad front, sensing weakness. During these opening battles, Rommel was a platoon commander and led his troops in a number of skirmishes along the French border. Rommel's first and many battles began in a reconnaissance mission at the small town of where when scouting, he and two other soldiers found French troops eating lunch. Rommel and the trio engaged the French but were forced back when reinforcements arrived. Rommel then retreated to his company and ordered them to storm the town. House-to-house fighting ensued, with the Germans using handguns and grenades to clear the village. Rommel would later write that the town broke out in a thick, suffocating smoke, glowing beams, and collapsing houses. After leading the first assault into the eastern side of Bled, Rommel then gathered more troops and had them attack on the flank of the village to drive the last of the French defenders out. During the height of the fighting, Rommel got separated from most of his battalion and moved some of his men to the outskirts of Bled to assess the battle. Rommel discovered that in his neighboring sector, French infantry were dug in. Rommel wrote, "Since I didn't want to remain inactive with my platoon, I decided to attack the enemy deployed opposite us in the 2nd Battalion sector to the south. The Desert Fox moved into position and attacked in force. As his infantry moved forward, reinforcements arrived. Rommel then ordered his men to fix bayonets and charge the French trench, but by the time the Germans reached the French lines, they already retreated. Rommel, with a small group, pushed the French till the Desert Fox passed out from exhaustion and sickness. Rommel woke up a few hours later and found that the lines had solidified and that his men had driven off the French defenders. The 124th Infantry followed up their success and moved into the Meuse Valley through the Dun Forest. The valley was a place of carnage, the likes of which the men had never seen. The whole region was a place of an intense artillery duel. Rommel once more led his company into battle. While moving through the forest, Rommel was almost killed when his men ran headfirst into a column of French infantry. The Desert Fox was caught in a crossfire and stuck between German and French lines. Rommel was forced to crawl back to friendly lines as the battle raged around him. Later that night, the Desert Fox made it back to friendly lines and was assumed to be KIA by his commanding officer. Rommel was then promoted to battalion adjacent to the company commander. The Desert Fox's new job entailed delivering orders and conducting reconnaissance on French lines. The 124th Infantry made their way southwest of Verdun and were ordered to encircle the fort, but were stalled by heavy artillery, which impeded the German army's progress. Fighting was starting to slow down, and trench warfare was about to begin. During this time, the Germans started to dig in as well to avoid getting shelled. When the troops were not taking cover from artillery, they were digging. Rommel then led several nighttime raids to try to dislodge the French and prevent them from counterattacking. His 2nd Battalion was overstretched and faced the ire of French artillery. and infantry. They were then ordered to attack and encircle Verdun, but were ultimately pushed back and suffered heavy casualties. The 124th Infantry was then transferred to Waren, and Rommel was tasked with taking command of the straggling 7th Company, and he was forced to lead them into battle. Once Rommel arrived, he took a rifle from a wounded soldier and found himself face to face with 5 French soldiers. Rommel managed to drop 2 of them with his rifle and then bayonet charged the rest, knowing that if he retreated, he would be shot in the back. During the charge, Rommel was shot in the leg, but managed to survive. Rommel was out of commission for the rest of the year and was awarded his first Iron Cross and rejoined the 124th Infantry in February 1915. When the Desert Fox returned to the front line, both sides were stuck in trench warfare. In an attempt to break the stalemate, Rommel took part in several raids against the French, always leading from the front. During this time, the Desert Fox gained a reputation as a daring and fearless leader. In late 1915, Rommel was transferred to a mountain division known as the Alpine Corps and was made company commander. Desert Fox spent some time scouting near the Swiss border, and in 1916, the Alpine Corps was transferred to counter the Romanians, who joined the war on the side of the Allies due to the initial success of the Pusilov offensive against the Austrians. The Romanian theater was mobile, unlike the Western Front, with the German army quickly running down the Romanians. During one scouting mission, the Desert Fox came across more than 70 Romanian troops setting up camp. The men were without weapons, and Rommel, with a small party of 3, managed to convince the Romanians to surrender. Rommel retreated to German lines with over 70 POWs to the shock of his commanders. Rommel's company then took part in the battle to capture Mount Kazna, a heavily armed fort on the border of Hungary and Romania. It took the Alpine Corps 2 weeks to capture the fort, and Rommel's company had to fight mostly uphill. After 2 weeks of hard fighting, the Alpine Corps was transferred to Italy with the 7th Army, which was sent to save the Austrians. Rommel's mountain battalion was sent to the Isonzo front, a mountainous region in northern Italy where the Austrians and Italians had been fighting inconclusively for several years. In October 1917, Rommel would lead his battalion, which was named after him, into battle. On the 24th of October, the Desert Fox attacked the Italian lines with 3 rifle companies and a machine gun unit. Rommel was tasked with taking 3 strategic mountains, Avlat, Mostrate, and Stol. During the next 2 days of fighting, Rommel managed to capture more than 9,000 prisoners, 81 cannons, with a small force of 150 men. The Desert Fox managed to beat the Italians by moving through rough terrain, thus taking the Italians by surprise. He did this despite having orders not to attack and to hold his position. Rommel defied orders and managed to break through the stalemate in the Italian theater, and the German military officers were allowed to disobey orders if they saw opportunity in battle. After taking the mountains, Rommel moved to take Ungroan, the last bridge that was not blown up by the Italians. Rommel managed to sneak up on the 10,000-strong Italian division and trick them into believing that they were surrounded, and after a short firefight, they surrendered. For his efforts, Rommel was awarded the Porte de Mérite medal and was promoted to captain. The Desert Fox spent the rest of the war working behind a desk as a staff officer for the 64th Infantry Division. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.